only just begun. Yes, we've just begun.
It's very ravey in here, isn't it? It's amazing. Thanks, Guy, and thank you to you and to Richard for asking me to speak today. For a company that's just celebrated its 10th birthday, to be IAB for a 10th anniversary, and for all the support you've given me so far. At least I think it's support, because after I talked with Guy around what we were going to discuss in this session this morning, I had an email from Richard as well, which said, "Hi, Steve. Thanks for doing this. I'd endorse Guy's point. A bit about what I wish I'd known as an agency wonk would be brilliant. Not that you're ever a wonk, ... Obviously. Best wishes, Richard." So I kind of am here, wonk and all. And I hope that what I'm going to share with you today is not only the things I wish I knew, but some new things that you can take away today. And in many ways, my kind of journey of discovery didn't begin when I joined Facebook. It began 2 years ago. And it was a pretty tough year, if I'm honest. I was working pretty hard, and I didn't feel like I was being a particularly good parent. I didn't feel like I was being a particularly good son, and I didn't feel like I was being a particularly good husband. And I spoke to my wife and said, I really want us to go and do something with this half-term holiday that gives us the chance to get together and connect. And we bit the bullet and paid the money, and we went on safari in Kenya. And it was extraordinary. I took my then 8-year-old son and my 6-year-old daughter, and we had some incredible experiences out on safari. And we decided one of the things we wanted to do is to not just see the animals, but go and see the people. So we spent a day in a Maasai village. And in the afternoon, my wife, Sophie, and Phoebe, my daughter, went off to the women's hut, and Fred and I went off to the man's hut. And actually mainly talked about Premiership football, which I don't know a lot about, but my son does, so he kind of saved the day for us. And as we were getting back on the Jeep, an extraordinary event happened. And as any parents in the room will know how extraordinary this is, because this is not normal behavior in my house, for sure. Fred got off the Jeep, walked to the leader of the Maasai tribe, this extraordinary man, this elegant 6'4" gentleman, and said, "Thank you so much for inviting us into your village today. I will tell all my friends about you, and this is something I'll never forget." Oh. Wow. And this leader of this Maasai tribe turned to my son and said, "Fred, I'll remember you also. I'll put your picture on my Facebook page." And it was a kind of stark reminder, or a kind of amazing, inspiring reminder of just what radical times we are going through, the kind of changes that we're all experiencing, and how lucky we are to work in an industry where we can see these things happen. And in truth, to really see how fast we've come and where we've got to, we don't need to go back 2 years or even 10 years, but 20 years. And I remember as a kind of new recruit into an agency, BMP DDB, and I was taking the tube to Whitfield Street with a very hot £5 note in my hand, given to me, or I persuaded Ivan Pollard, now the VP of Global Connections for Coca-Cola, that we should go and have a look at this internet thing. There's a cafe in Whitfield Street called Siberia. Let me go and take a look. So, and it's now Dabbers, it's a restaurant now, so don't go looking for it, but it was a pretty amazing place at the time. So we paid our £5, it was me and my friend John, and for 25 minutes, we watched 2/3 of a weather satellite picture from NASA download, which kind of made us go back to the agency and say to Ivan, "Do you know what, you might be right. There might not be much in this internet thing after all." And boy, kind of how wrong we were and how wrong he was in that, because just look at where we have come to now. From taking a half hour to download a total image to immediate everyday responses where we're posting, sharing, photographing, tweeting, liking, retweeting, our everyday moments all of the time. And we've reached an acceleration point where, in fact, with some platforms, that whole reason for existing is their ephemeral nature. The fact that they go from things that are permanent to things that are immediately dispersed. So it's no surprise that as marketeers and people that are involved in creating great marketing communications, it's kind of difficult to know where to go. What are my bets? What are my priorities? What are the things that I should be really, really focusing on? So I'm going to share with you kind of 3 things that I hope are useful for you today to go and make kind of even better communications than we do right now. One, I want to give you a kind of new perspective on mobile, the single biggest kind of fundamental platform change that we're going to see in our generation. And kind of secondly, I want to talk to you about Facebook IQ and the insights that we can bring to you now. And finally, I'm going to talk about by far the biggest exponential change that we've seen, which is the enormous rise in video consumption, particularly mobile video consumption. And now, beginning with mobile, it's remarkable, and we do need to kind of pause and think, it's remarkable to think that now 50% of all time spent online in the UK is mobile. An extraordinary development over a very short period of time. It's the most universal marketing channel there's ever been, and it has the potential to be the most intimate marketing channel that there's ever been. So how do we find our way? What are the things that we should focus on? Where should we place our priority? And where does the future belong to? Does it belong to kind of any of the companies or businesses that this device, or this device? And so we would suggest that maybe that's looking at things perhaps from the wrong direction. That if we come at things from a perspective of technology, we really miss where the real difference happens. And that actually, rather than belonging to those devices or companies, it actually belongs to this group here. It belongs to people. Because ultimately, mobile and mobility is about people. It's a grassroots revolution in human behavior. And it's starting, unlike previous technological revolutions, it's starting from the bottom up, where the ownership is within each individual's grasp. And whilst mobile illness is so ubiquitous, the seismic shift in behavior is being pioneered by younger people. And as an insight-first, insight-fast business, it's Facebook's job to help kind of understand and help marketeers kind of navigate that future. And we brought that together. We're launching today a thing called Facebook IQ. It's a combination of thought leaders, writers, sociologists, ethnographers, and researchers that are looking outside of Facebook's walls to help us understand exactly the behaviors and the motivations that are occurring out there in the world. And it's for 2 reasons. One, because we think we need even more understanding of what's changing because the pace is so fast so that we can create great new products. But it's also there to help marketeers create great campaigns and to help fuel great communications and great creativity. And today I'm going to share with you the insights from that first study, Coming of Age on Screen. It's combined with Crowd DNA. We surveyed and spoke to 11,000 13 to 24-year-olds in 13 different countries. The research is incredibly rich and diverse, and I'm going to share with you the 3 big cultural shifts that we saw within that and the implications for audience and for marketers. And the kind of first thing to say, and perhaps it's kind of reassuring, is that growing up hasn't changed. The kind of fundamentals. Somebody's going, who is that? It's me. It's me. The anxieties and fears as you construct your identity, knowing what to wear and what not to wear on non-uniform day. When 1 week you want to be Rob Lowe, and the next bit you want to be Roland from Tears for Fears. Those things haven't changed for anybody that's between 13 to 24. But it is being mediated by technology in a way that we haven't seen before. So 3 conclusions, 3 kind of outcomes for you, the big cultural shifts that we're seeing. One, which is online is the new offline. In fact, there is no distinction with this group between their offline world and their online world. And in fact, the time that they spend online is second only to the time that they spend hanging out in the real world, with their friends, where they are unquestionably hanging out online with an extended network that comes to them into the living room. And how did it come to them? The second big trend that we're seeing within this group is mobile is unquestionably the first screen for this group. 9 out of 10, I'm just going to pause on that for a minute. 9 out of 10, 13 to 24-year-olds in 30 different countries now own a smartphone. That's a phenomenal shift. And perhaps kind of interestingly as well, is the thing that they're least likely to do with the most complex phone that lives in their pocket is make a phone call. It's not a phone, it's a screen. In fact, there's a great story of a mum talking with her daughter, and the daughter was trying to find directions for them picking up a friend, and she's in the back of the car messaging her, and it's continuing on, and the mum's in the front of the car going, will you please just call her? You know, and that generational difference in how people communicate is being played out hour by hour by hour in different countries around the world. In fact, you know, what we're seeing now, another difference is that more than 60% of people in this group use social media and messaging to keep in contact with the people that they're going to see that day. It's very different behavior to the ones you see in older groups, for whom geography is a big driver of connection. And finally, I have a new catchphrase for you, which is FOBO is the new FOMO. So FOMO, the fear of missing out. That doesn't happen with this group. They often don't miss out. Either they're there real, or they have a kind of proxy presence, or they're connected to somebody who is in those places. But what that has been replaced by, and it's understandable when it's such a rich way of expressing identity, that whilst the fear of missing out isn't there, the fear of being offline very much is there. It's the intrinsic part of how they're expressing themselves and how they feel connected into not just themselves, but the wider world. And in fact, speaking to them, 75% of them said they would refuse to leave their house without their phone. It's that degree of wanting to be in touch and connected. And interestingly, and it's kind of a false question because you're never really going to make people make a choice in this, nearly 60% of them would choose to give up their television over their phone. Again, it's kind of a false question, but the idea that we're seeing a generational shift from one technology which shaped kind of the social agenda to the other is clear. And within this group, we're not just seeing the future kind of economic powerhouses, a powerhouse of individuals. We're also seeing the incubators of social and cultural norms. Young people are in a place where they're sharing things much, much faster than ever. And one area in particular where that's true is alongside the staggering 600% increase in time spent on mobile phones in the last 4 years. There's an equally, in fact, probably more staggering, more than 5-fold increase in the viewing of video on mobile in the last 2 years alone. And one of the stats that we're kind of interested in, because it helps us drive how we produce great product, was that within this age group, they're more likely to share a video on Facebook of themselves than any other platform. And do you know what? They're not alone.
Hi, I'm David Beckham, and I'm accepting Ryan's ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
I'm glad to give to ALS.
Governor, I accept your challenge.
Collaborate and listen. I get back to my brand new invention. Never stop, yo. Turn off the lights and I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up the stage and talk like a candle. Speaker that booms, I'm killing your brain like a poison mushroom. When I play a dope melody, anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it, you better make way. You better get fools out of shit, don't play. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the book while I stay wrong. There's no end to it, there's just...
And I don't know about you, but it did feel in my newsfeed, there was a point where I thought, there really is no end to this. This is going to carry on. And okay, who did it? Who did the Ice Bucket Challenge? Okay, it's a great kind of smattering. Well, you really weren't alone. And in as much as overall 17 million videos of Ice Bucket Challenge were uploaded during the period. And the reason that has a kind of cultural significance is not just in the scales of these numbers, but because it taught new behaviors and it created new expectations. When we go from just March this year, an extraordinary idea of Fiona Cunningham, a single mum from Stoke-on-Trent, to post a picture of herself without makeup in support of charity that consequently became Cancer Research UK's most successful campaign ever. And along the way, taught an entire new group of people about how to upload a single image. Well, the Ice Bucket Challenge has kind of done that, well, in spades or with buckets. 17 million people, 17 million videos uploaded, viewed by 440 million people, and 10 billion times in total. And it probably wasn't me just watching my own one about 7 times, but I'm sure that contributed to the overall. And a year-on-year difference, where we're seeing this interaction, the year-on-year difference of raising 2.8 million in the prior period for the charity to over 100 million. And along the way, educating and normalizing how do we share a video, how do I upload a video, and what my expectations might be of seeing video in my feed. And at Facebook, we've learned very, very clearly that if you really want to stay on top, you have to follow what people are doing. And that's why we've introduced premium video. It's why today at 5 o'clock, we're introducing autoplay to our video ad suites. And it's also why we've added things like a video counter so that people can see things, we can see how, so clients and agencies can see what videos are most popular and react and adapt to that. So far, so theoretical. And I want to kind of close this with an example from McDonald's, who brought all of these things together. The use of mobile, kind of intelligent use of data and insight, and the application of rich, immersive video to answer a big problem. How do we cut through in the World Cup? Let's have a look how they did it.
What if we just reenacted the best plays of the day every day of the World Cup, but using French fries? And everyone sort of went, yeah, I think that could work.
Okay, so this is Facebook HQ London, and this is where we're going to be filming the Five Football campaign. What we do is we sit around here on the beanbags, watching the games, watch a lot of football. Way too much football. We quickly come up with an idea, kind of like a funny story we can tell based on the game that we see.
38 markets in Europe, you've got dozens of languages. It's got to be something that doesn't use voiceover. It's got to be something that can turn around in 4 hours of shooting and 2 hours of editing.
Do a quick storyboard.
Very quick storyboards.
Then it's like, just go, go, go.
Crazy fan who's got an awesome little outfit or an expression.
This is actually a character we saw in the crowd who actually was wearing a hat with a World Cup pitch.
When we see that, we make that and we put it in that film to run the next
I like
morning.
the idea that the guy who was wearing that maybe saw himself in an advert.
Working on real-time content was a great challenge. Normally at McDonald's we plan and prepare and want to build perfection into something.
I mean, we've seen real-time, right? We've seen Oreo do its 100 days.
This has been a real challenge because it's kind of taken it to the next limit.
They were putting out an image. We're turning around a film.
So you had the team of lawyers getting up twice at night.
People were setting alarms for 2:30 in the morning.
Myself getting up for an entire month twice at night. It's like having a newborn baby.
From the time that the games end here in London to the time that Europe wakes up in the morning is when we make the entire film, get approvals, and distribute it into people's newsfeeds.
Nowadays, people want to have their information in their hand, and nobody could have believed that this campaign would reach more than 70% actually via mobile. Now we have reached 125 million people in 150 countries. So we reach people in more countries that actually we operate in, and this is really amazing.
And a campaign that created some of the highest brand favorability scores that Nielsen have ever seen, including a plus 36% in France. And boy, the French are tough to impress. So they must have liked this campaign. So whilst we look at, when we kind of look at the pace of change we're going through, the availability of technology, the awesome amount of data that is available to all of us, how do we cut through this? Well, I would suggest that the answer is surprisingly simple, that it starts and it ends in a way kind of like all great marketing does. And Richard, this is my answer to your question. What do I think I wish I knew when I was an agency wonk? It's something I think I already knew but can kind of forget sometimes. That if you focused on people and what people are doing and follow the behavior that we're seeing in culture, then you're going to have successful campaigns. And we are in a transition right now. We're going from a decade that's gone from desktop to mobile, from search, where we're finding things we know we're looking for, to discovery, where campaigns are coming to us with content that we know we want to see. And from waiting patiently for a single image to clunkily download, to deep, immersive, highly engaging video right in front of us. And many things are holding us back, but probably the greatest thing is habit and inertia. And for those brands that are making pioneering steps, there are many kind of gains to be had. Because it's true that whilst we have a generation that is growing up on screens, so are the brands that we serve. And whilst we may be only beginning here, our customers are already there. Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
Terrific. Thank you very much indeed. That was an excellent presentation. And thanks for giving us a sense of, you know, if you knew then what you know now, what you might have done differently. So what would be, you get great advice for advertisers, but what would be your advice to agencies, to media agencies right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of true for both that you know, we're entering a point where I know the word collaboration is overly used, but it's so important, right? I mean, it only works if it all works. And to, you know, to kind of Nick's point earlier, you know, bringing together people that have a passionate understanding of people through data, which is what I took from Nick.
Which clients have got in spades with their
Which
first party
clients have
data?
got in spades with great creative talent, with really, really smart really smart planning. You know, that left brain and right brain equation is so true, and the potential for us to do great work is here and now.
Well, your inaugural speech for the industry here is much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Steve.
Cheers. Have a good day, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've only just begun.